Hey guys, NJ here, and you're looking down the barrel of this Fossil Stuff Revo frame. Now this caught my eye probably at the end of last year, more specifically when I got a chance to walk past the Fossil Stuff stand at the UK drone show. My friend Tonstar was working over there, and he was quite keen to point this out to me, and you know what an eye-catching quad it is, something very different by design compared to the mould that we're very used to seeing. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, especially while you know the whole quadcopter thing is you know, in the grand scheme of things, it really is still in its infancy. So it's good to see companies really thinking outside the box. Anyway, he put me in touch with Dan Pitman, and they sent this over to me. So thanks very much, chaps. To have a look at and review. So let's talk about some of what we're seeing here. Now probably the first and biggest thing you'll notice in the frame design is the fact that the arms are 90 degrees off to the way we would normally expect to see them. So instead of having the carbon flat, they are rotated round and standing upright, which does seem like a bit of a strange idea when you look at it at first glance. But when you tilt the quad forward into its race position, shall we say, it starts to become a little clearer. You can see that when this thing is upright and gunning its way forward, that these arms have almost completely disappeared, which is a great idea for reducing any drag, or you know, the fact that the arms will probably rob a certain percentage of thrust in the traditional layout. Having them this way means that they're virtually invisible and will actually help help that thrust get straight through and be a little more transparent. I think that's a really interesting idea, and it'll be good to see how that actually works out when it comes to flying this thing. Some of the people I've spoken to that are running these Revo frames seem to swear by the fact that it really does help the quad accelerate and run at faster speeds. So yeah, I really look forward to testing that out. Now one of the downsides, of course, of having the arms this way is that there is now more potential for a lateral movement of the arms as they come further out from their joining point, and that would be particularly bad for things like yaw, where those forces would definitely be present and would cause some pretty horrific yaw twitching. So the second way that they have decided to take care of that issue is this this sort of second innovation is this cord that is running around the outside. Now the material itself, it seems to me it's very much like paracord. There's a material that paragliders and kite surfers use called Dyneema, and I think it's got that same kind of waxy feel to it, but this particular cord's very light, incredibly strong under tensile strength, and doesn't stretch very much. So I imagine this is why they've chosen to use this as opposed to a metal wire, which is, you know, has various reasons for why you wouldn't want to do that. So I think that's the material that's used, and then what happens is this is run around the outside of the frame to help add some real stiffness and torsion to the whole thing and stop these arms moving. Of course these cords don't just simply pass through a hole here, they actually go through this hole, they loop round a second hole where they're clamped and then move off to the other side. So the only trick with that is you have to really mess around to try and get the tension nice and even on each side before finally tightening that system up. Speaking of which, the way that is tightened up, if we spin round to the back here, what we have is quite an ingenious little system. You've actually got a post here at the back which is on a pivot, so we tie the knot here on the cord and you know, take as much slack out as you can, and then this whole thing rotates. You put a screwdriver through here and you twist it and basically tension up this system, and then it's got some pre-drilled kind of, let me try and angle it so you can see it there. There's like these drop slots here where you can drop a bolt in when you twist it round and get this tension nice, and that will fix it into place. So yeah, really interesting design. What this does say to me is that this is obviously geared to be a racing frame, and one that's going to be spending its time going very fast, very low down. I wouldn't consider this to be a freestyle frame, if I'm completely honest. I mean, one thing that would be a bit of a nightmare is the fact that this would do a fantastic job of catching onto trees and branches and God knows what, if you're freestyling round objects and tall things. So I would imagine this would be a setup that is really geared towards racing and straight line speed. That seems to be what this frame is saying to me, just from a general look at it. The other thing we've got here is these 90-degree mounted motor mounts. They have 2 screw holes. 2 screw holes is fine. I can see why they've done it. Obviously, it means there's a little less material needed to keep the weight down. And there's also the fact that this actually has to be bolted on via 2 screws as well. So removing 2 means you've got 2 here and then 2 bolts, which will bring it back to around the correct weight of how it would be on something more conventional. So what I can see is there's a deeper level of thought that's gone into pretty much all angles of this quad. The standoffs are a little more interesting as well. Rather than going all the way down, they seem to fall short. They seem to be slightly wider at the top, taper in, and then fall short, so that you're not compressing to a specific kind of inner measurement there. You are actually able to really compress this down if you want to, by having this section kind of fall short. All of the screws here, if we flip it to the underside, are countersunk, which is nice, keep it all nice and flat. There is a hole just here, you can see, where the battery strap can mount through, which looks good. And then in terms of the electronics layout, you've got the whole flight stack will go here on the top, and although I don't have one, Dan apparently is going to be sending me one out. They do a on their website, and I'll link you to it. There's a 3D printed pod that goes on top here to protect your flight stack, and that comes in either 1, 2 or 3 stack height, depending on what kind of combination boards you're using. Obviously we had a look at this guy, which was the FR Sky XSR-F3E, which has the integrated XSR in it as a flight controller. So that's an example of one combination board you could have in, and then you could get a PDB OSD underneath it and be done there. Or there's various options, and they support a pod that will accommodate all of those, so that's nice. These are standard VTX mounting points for an RPSMA. For instance, I could use something like this, which is a Ditone SP2. Mount the pigtail up inside that so the aerial comes out the top, and have that as part of the stack. So there's an option for doing something like that. And then also, if we look round at the front here, you've got a standard. So this is a mount that often gets kind of left in the box if you buy run cams and various 1177s, which I'm sure a lot of you do. This is the little mount that goes off the base that normally doesn't get used, because a lot of more traditional quads have the side plates, and they will often accommodate mounting the camera directly onto the side plates. So on this occasion you would be using that, and this was something that confused me actually when I first looked at this. You see these holes in the side. I actually went down, I said, what on earth are they for? I don't quite understand what it is they're supposed to do, but of course those are there so that you can get a screwdriver through to make adjustments if you wanted to change the set screw. If I loosen that off, you can see I can now adjust my camera angle, and you really can get a bonkers angle. If you so want to do that, you can go to pretty much 90 degrees there and have something completely crazy, and you know what, this will probably warrant it. So I will have a think about the electronics for this and decide what it is I want to put into it, but on a first overview I've got to say I really like the design. Now there are things that I will say do concern me a little bit. If this was to primarily be a racing frame, one thing that would concern me is if you had a particularly bad crash and you actually took this cabling out or snagged it or damaged it, or if it snapped, anything like that. This is a system that takes time to set up, time and patience, and setting these screws, getting the tension right across each side so that it's holding everything square. So if you get the tension wrong on one side, you'll actually, if I line this up, you can see it's kind of perfectly square across this grid mat that I've got underneath it. If you get the tension wrong, you can actually take the geometry out, which is a bad thing. So much like a sports car, and temperamental like one as well, I'd imagine if you want the best out of it, it will perform better than your standard car, but it requires some tuning and some TLC. And I really think this kind of thing is going to be the same. If you have any kind of crash in a race, you're not going to be able to quickly fix this and get back in the air. So that would be my only concern if this was going to primarily be a real racing setup. You'd need 2 or 3 of them to take with you to a race. But that said, I have heard again reports that this thing is incredibly tough, and I have to give Fossil Stuff the benefit of the doubt when it comes to building tanks that are tough, because if the gravity is anything to go by, this thing will be able to take a knock like a champ. So, you know, it certainly feels incredibly stiff and tough. The other thing to mention is the carbon quality is great. It looks like we have 4mm arms here, 3mm top and bottom plate, and the other thing I was initially worried about was obviously the quality of the edges, whether it had been machined well, whether there was any kind of work done on keeping the edges nice and sanded and smooth before they're sent out, or whether I'd have to do any work on the quad. And I was delighted to see the one place that would give me the most concern is here, where this cord runs through. Because if there was any sharp edges there, obviously that would start wearing away at that cord and that would snap mid-flight, which would be very undesirable. But I can see, looking closely, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it or not, it's going to be difficult to get my camera to focus in here, probably not, but the edge you can just about make out there is really nicely chamfered. So yeah, it's absolutely smooth in there, and those little details really show to me the kind of detail that I like to see in the engineering, and lots of thought in the design. And so, you know, this has clearly been put together by a team who really care about how this, you know, every aspect of this quad and how it's going to work. The other thing I'll note here is, you know, there's a lot of quads now that are coming out with the camera kind of up the front here and exposed. I've got a fair few quads like this now with this design, and you know, there is I was kind of skeptic in you know, initially as well when it came to this design, thinking this was a really vulnerable thing to do, and you know, the quad was going to get all kinds of any kind of crash. You were going to end up smashing this and causing problems and bending and breaking cases. I have yet to have a single quad suffer a crash with the FPV camera up the front here, and that has been taken out. It does seem like the way that the motors are laid out and where the props are, this ends up being actually really well protected, and you know, no matter how many ways I crash, I never seem to come away with any kind of damage to even the lens or the housing, or you know, any stress, any white cracks, stress marks, nothing. So I've got absolutely no problem with having the camera here like this out the front. I don't feel like it actually needs a massive amount of protection. I mean, it might be different if you were racing in concrete, and you know, I've done a little bit of flying around, you know, concrete jungles like car parks and what have you, and to be honest with you, no part of the quad is safe when you're in those kind of areas, so there's no point blaming something like that. I mean, you can quite easily damage your battery, take a massive chunk out of the carbon edge on an arm, which you know, I've done before on the lightest of crash in concrete areas. So on the whole, that really doesn't bother me at all. I think it's absolutely fine mounted the way it is. In terms of the electrical layout, it would make sense that the ESC's strapped to the side here, but at the same time, part of me really doesn't want to, you know, I really want to see what the benefit of this kind of transparency of these arms are in relation to the thrust from the props. So I don't really want to start bulking them up with ESCs. I know ESCs are low profile, but it would be nice to try and maximise that. So I'm going to think about different ways to mount the ESCs, and whether I could at least partly move them into the body here, because this does actually go quite deep into this area here, so that might be a possibility. But there's lots of kind of sensible holes cut out in the carbon, not only to allow for lightening the frame a little bit, but also for routing wiring. So I don't see this is going to be in any way a problem to work on whatsoever, or route wiring. And as I said, yeah, it feels super strong, you know, Fossil Stuff strong, which is a whole other category of strength in the quadcopter world. So yeah, there is the first look at the the Revo frame. I think it's a really clever idea. It's a really interesting design. I applaud them certainly for coming up with something so different, and I hope more companies follow suit, coming up with different ideas, because this is how we all, you know, we all benefit at the end of the day when sort of breakthrough ideas come along and good things happen. So yeah, keep an eye on the channel, like and sub if you haven't subbed already, and yeah, there will be this will be built into, and I may actually do a build video on this, or I'll certainly be keeping you updated as I put it together, and then we'll go out and top throttle it around a track and see what happens. Okay, see you guys in the next one.